from the blackest corners of your mind, they call, pulling you deep into shadow, twisting your senses, keeping you from sleep. It's time to face your darkest fears. This is Tales to Terrify.
Good evening, children of the night, and welcome to our final week of Women in Horror Month. I don't have any news to share with you tonight, so without further ado, I'll cast you one last time into the capable claws of Meredith.
Well, children of the night, it's time to wrap up this year's Women in Horror Month here at Tales to Terrify. This year, I've had the pleasure of introducing you to 4 lovely ladies whose siren songs will lure you into dark and disturbing places. Last, but certainly not least, here's Woman in Horror number 4. Mariah Darling is an activist dedicated to bringing awareness to issues affecting queer and trans people of color. She recently released her first book, a splatterpunk suspense novella co-authored by Eve Harms, the author of Transmuted, a body horror tale we are big fans of. The book, recently released by Unnerving, is titled Chasers. It tells the story of Lenora, a Black trans woman and musician who escapes a hostile housing situation and moves into a new apartment. She's finally feeling safe, but all that changes when she finds a peephole in her living room that looks into the apartment of her erratic and elusive neighbor. Next door is the makeshift set of a gruesome and mysterious camp show that leads her into a world more brutal and depraved than she could have ever imagined, and a desperate struggle for survival. Thank you, Mariah. And remember, children of the night, that you don't need our permission to celebrate women in horror all year long. You can read all the authors I've mentioned this month and others while supporting your local library and indie bookstores and publishers. Now, back to our voice of the void, Drew Sebastini.
A huge thank you, Meredith, for once again taking the reins on Women in Horror Month and helping us to promote the diverse representation and works of women in our genre. I hope this year we helped make your horizons a little broader and your reading list a little longer. Now, on with our fiction. We have 2 tales for you this evening about forgotten dreams that refuse to die and 2 sisters' desperate fight to survive in the face of a deadly outbreak. Our first story for the evening comes from Kathleen Palm. Kathleen Palm is a little light, a little dark, and a lot weird. She lives in an old house in Indiana where she watches horror movies, reads spooky books, and drinks chocolate milk. Her short stories have appeared in Blackberry Blood, a quaint and curious volume of Gothic tales, Dark Dead Things Issue 2, and Shortwave Magazine. Get ready for her upper middle grade horror trilogy, The Nowhere series, coming in 2025-26 from Undertaker Press. Children of the night, join me for Kathleen Palm's Rotted Dreams, first published in The Crow's Quill magazine, November 2022.
The dollhouse lights glow from the corner of my room. lights that shouldn't work. Uncovering it yesterday must have stirred memories, because I dreamed about my old dollhouse. Flickering lights, rotting furniture. I woke up when the dolls started screaming, and like in the dream, the lights sputtered on. I crawl forward, my bed squeaking. Dreams. I poured so many into that stupid toy. With a sigh, I move to huddle back under my blankets when a shadow twitches in a minuscule window, then another. Something whispers, "I wish." The pink door creaks open. I stiffen, but lean closer. Hundreds of tiny, blackened arms erupt from the void, wrapping around the door frame and clawing at the dusty white siding. Raspy voices scurry through my room. I wish, I want, please. Crooked shadows creep across my walls as what sounds like a million tiny feet slap on my wood floor. Tip, tap, skitter, tap. Louder and closer. I back against the headboard. Doll-like things crawl onto my bed, shoulders jerk, twisted heads nod, eyes cry dark tears, and they whisper, "I wish." A house, a family, to be happy. Words I repeated many times. My dreams that never came true. Dreams I abandoned in that house when I covered it and forgot it. A horde of little beings creeps over my bed. I shriek as pointed fingers sink into my feet, my legs, my stomach. My forgotten dreams didn't die. They rotted. They warped. They waited.
That was Kathleen Palm's Rotted Dreams, as read by Nancy Bober. Nancy Bober is melodic, mellow, mature, with a hint of humor. Cape Cod-based, self-proclaimed history nerd, bibliophile, former chef and foodie. A background in theater, broadcasting, and volunteer reading for the print-impaired sent Nancy on a journey to find the perfect career. She finds every subject fascinating, as every topic has something to teach. Thank you, Nancy. Our second tale tonight comes from Hall Jameson. Hall Jameson is an American writer and artist who lives in the Pacific Northwest. Her writing has recently appeared in Cosmic Roots and Eldritch Shores, Nature Futures, and The Drabblecast. When she's not writing, she's likely in her kayak on the Puget Sound, searching the forest for owls during the wee hours, or at home wrangling cats. Children of the Night, join me for Hall Jameson's Surfacing, a Tales to Terrify original.
My disease kept me locked away. Time presenting itself in contrasting impressions of despair and euphoria, confusion and reason, I occasionally surfaced, and on those days I could identify the things in the barn where I was kept. The scarred sickle hanging on the wall, The pitchfork in the corner, a blue bicycle that had belonged to my mother, a workbench littered with hand tools, cardboard boxes, and my sister's hard-bound notebook. On other days, all logic dissolved, and the objects on the walls became scale-cloaked monsters. Twitching red spiders dangled from the rafters, and tantalizing body parts littered the workbench. During these times, my thoughts, if you could call them that, were a turbulent storm of emotions: fear, confusion, rage, and even joy. However, the ever-present compulsion to kill and feed overshadowed any feelings of hope. Today, my mind was a gentle flow of technicolor thoughts and memories. I sensed others of my kind around, something that rarely happened anymore, as most of us had been collected and either killed or imprisoned. Though I could not see them, the smell of desiccated flesh filled my nose, as if they stood beside me, more potent than my own stench. When they were close, we were of one mind. We had disjointed conversations about the things we'd lost, mostly indecipherable, but with the occasional, crystal-clear, "Why?" or "Where are my keys?" or "Mommy, where are you?" Despite today's return of rational thought, I longed to join the others, to herd up, to go on a gluttonous rampage, devouring the tender, organic parts of the living. The door to the barn creaked open, and I hissed, automatically lunging in that direction. The padded shackle around my ankle and a short chain kept me out of striking distance of the young woman who entered. She held a plastic bag in one hand and a rifle in the other, and wore pink scrubs and purple tennis shoes. She opened the refrigerator next to the workbench, revealing shelves filled with small vials of fluid. Today, I remembered the woman's name, Andrea, and that she was my big sister. However, that did not dispel the urge to kill her and devour her brain matter. "Hi, Gracie," Andrea said, unlocking the cabinet over the workbench, retrieving a cartridge and jamming it into the gun. The sound was booming, and I groaned, echoes reverberating through my skull. "I passed some others on my way home, escapees from the encampments. I hope they make it somewhere safe." She squeezed clay-colored gelatinous goo from a plastic bag into a doggy dish. I smacked my lips in anticipation. "Dinner," she said, pushing the dish toward me with a garden hoe. I snarled, swiping at the hoe, which suddenly enraged me. My sister fed me human brain matter once a day, and I tried to kill her every time. "I hope this isn't a mistake," Andrea murmured. From the corner of my eye, I saw her raise the rifle and point it at me. An airy chunk followed. I ignored the dart that punctured my rear end because, 1, I could not feel it, and 2, the smell drifting from the dish had my complete attention, its reeking contents irresistible. I dropped to all fours and plunged my face into the bowl, casting sideways glances at her in case she got close enough to grab. But she had already retrieved the dart by yanking on its tether and had settled on the stool by the door. She retrieved a thick notebook from the workbench and jotted a few notes. "We're making great strides at work, Gracie. We're completing the 5th round of trials in the encampments. There's been an uptick in cognitive reaction and mood stabilization, and only a handful of true deaths. Now we're working on a new drug to slow the necrotic progression. It may even reverse it, but we'll see. The initial case results have me hopeful. Much of the data is very encouraging." She tapped on the page of the notebook, then closed it and put it on the workbench. I've changed you to the latest meds and upped your dosage today. I hope it helps." She paused and looked at me with sad eyes. "Do you even recognize me?" she asked, a slight break in her voice. She nodded. "I know you're in there, sis, and I'm going to get you back." I felt a sharp twitch in my chest, and suddenly, memories rolled over me in waves. I recalled our chats about traveling, baseball, music, medical school. She must be done by now. We had even talked about Mom and Dad briefly. Our parents, victims of the first wave, murdered by terrified neighbors. That horrible memory pushed more images forward of the virus's early days when the world was in a chaotic tailspin. The disease affected everyone differently. Some only suffered mild flu-like symptoms for a few days before fully recovering. Others experienced true death within a matter of hours, a blessing compared to the pseudo-death state that millions, like my parents, had suffered. During those first few months, Andrea and I hunkered down in the house, boarding the windows and locking the doors. Survival was the #1 thing on our minds. We managed for 6 years as life returned, not to how it once was, but to how it would be from now on. Better in some ways, and worse in others. And then, someone bit me. I had just resumed class in person. The girl sitting behind me likely didn't even know she was infected. The symptoms came on rapidly and relentlessly, until it was too late. The professor acted quickly, driving the leg of a chair through her head, but not before she had chomped down on my bare forearm. As quickly as they arrived, the onslaught of memories evaporated. I stared at the empty doggy dish in front of me. I stood, the floorboards creaking beneath my worn-out tennis shoes as I paced. The others I had sensed earlier had moved away, and the barn walls started to judder and distort. "You need new shoes. I'll look into that," a tired voice said. A strange woman stood by the door. She held an empty plastic bag with traces of slimy goo inside. The scent of her blood overwhelmed me, her internal organs, her breath. I could hear her heartbeat and her lungs expand with each inhalation. "I love you, little sister," she said. "I'll see you soon." "Kill you," the voice screamed inside my head. Bolts of red and yellow filled my vision. I lunged toward the woman, roaring, then falling flat as the chain yanked me back into place. When I looked up, the barn door slid shut, plunging me into darkness. The next time I surfaced, I was sitting on the floor. Fresh bandages, carefully taped in place, covered my left ankle and right arm, and I wore clean pants and a green t-shirt. I studied the dark purple veins that bulged against the too white skin of my wrists. Surprising electrical sensations trickled through my extremities, dissipating at the tips of my fingers and toes. That was new. I pressed 2 fingers against the spot where my pulse should be, but felt no movement. Worth a try. The barn door rumbled open, and 2 figures stood silhouetted against the brilliant backdrop of a sunny afternoon. I shrieked at the sudden brightness, the features of the intruders swimming in and out of focus. Potent rage, combined with the urge to crack their skulls open and slurp down the contents, replaced reason. One of them, a short, rotund man, stepped into the barn's shadowy interior. "Told you she had one back here, Zach," he said to the taller man who followed. They smelled of sweat, iron, and urine, and I gnashed my teeth in anticipation of how they would taste. "It's fucking disgusting," Zach said. "We should just jam a blade into its eye and do the world a favor." I growled low in my throat. No, the other man said. The client wants it as is. He's got an exotic zoo or freak show or something. It's worth $10,000 if we bring her in like this, and that's what I plan on doing. Seriously, Pete? A zoo? What kind of messed up shit is that? If you want a zoo, go to the encampments. It's free. I think it's more an event with, shows. I didn't ask, and he didn't offer, Pete said. I thought you were good with this. Zach hesitated, scratching a pimple on his chin, then said, I am. It's just that I've never seen one this close. We were pretty isolated on the base. My pop said if I ever saw one, I should kill it before it kills me. Again, I snarled, curling my lip up at him. Prickly white starbusts bloomed in my mind. You can't kill them anymore. They're still considered people. They have rights now, Pete said. There might even be a cure soon. Zach spat on the barn floor. That's bull, all of it. What about our rights, our safety? There's no cure for that thing. And what the hell's this lady doing with one in her barn? Who cares? Pete barked. Listen, do you want to do this or not? Zach glared at me for a moment, then nodded. Yep, I need the money. How do we do this? Pete unfolded a thick piece of canvas. Take the other end of this. We'll throw it over her head, then knock her to the ground, tie her up, use the axe on the wall to cut the chain, and drag her out of here and into the back of the pickup. She's pretty tiny, so it shouldn't be too hard. Just stay away from her mouth. He paused. You vaccinated? No, but I don't plan on it either, so don't bother giving me crap about it. It doesn't matter to me, just don't get bitten. Glowering at me, Zach gripped his side of the blanket. Can't believe you call this thing she, he said out of the corner of his mouth. I clicked my teeth together a few times in a biting motion, pleased to see the shudder that shook his body. I caught the metallic whiff of adrenaline, and my vision momentarily dissolved to white. I narrowed my eyes at the blanket. They think I don't understand them, that I don't know what's happening here. I dropped to a squat, eyes locked with Zach's. His pupils were enormous black jewels. She's acting weird, Pete said. Usually they go berserk around humans. Yeah, I don't like how it's looking at me, Zach said uneasily. Let's get this over with, Pete said, lifting the blanket. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. The blanket fell over me, dropping me into darkness, but I was used to the dark and could detect them by their scent. I didn't move. A sudden metallic clank rang out on my left. Holy crap, Zach! Pete shouted. Why'd you bust the chain? We haven't tied her up yet. Hands grabbed at me from outside the blanket. Loops of rope tried to circle me, but I jumped up and whipped the blanket off, the freed length of chain dragging across the floor. Pete's plump, pink forearm was in front of me as he struggled with the blanket, trying to fling it over me again. I grabbed his arm and bit down. He screamed as I tore the meaty flesh and stringy tendons from his bones. Zach stood frozen in place, wide-eyed, mouth agape, still holding the axe that had broken the chain. I lurched toward him, and he stepped back, raising the axe, but he tripped over the stool where my sister always sat and sprawled onto his back. This time, no chain kept me at arm's length. This time, I was free to feed. I welcomed the fury that was characteristic of my disease. I did not need to be above the surface for this, nor did I want to be. I sank into the dark depths of nothingness, where I spent most of my time, allowing rage to engulf me. Me, whoever I was, whatever I was, nothing, everything, a dead thing. I limped down the dirt lane, the length of chain still attached to my right ankle, the front of my shirt soaked with gore. I was going. Where? I didn't know, but I felt energized because I had gorged. My mind was whirling with information, overdosing from the fresh kills. Thoughts clicked by in rapid-fire succession. The zingers that I had been feeling in my extremities intensified. Now, there was a persistent tingling sensation in my fingertips, a mild burning, replacing the numbness that had been there since my infection. A similar sensation pulsed in my toes. A vehicle appeared in the distance, and I lunged for the bushes. The instinctual urge to hide rose to the top of the tangle of thoughts in my skull. I peered out from the tall grass as an electric vehicle buzzed past. Who am I? Where am I? Where do I belong? Daisies, common yarrow, and fireweed surrounded me. Delicate blooms lifted toward the sun. Its warmth struck my face and neck. Its brightness no longer hurt my eyes. The sweet smell of the flowers filled my nose. How I had missed the sun, the clouds, the smell of the earth and leaves. I wanted to wrap myself in the grass, but I rose and returned to the street. The urge to roam was strong. Snatches of memory returned. A large door sliding open. 2 men entering, trying to take me. But they had made a mistake, breaking my chain before they had secured me. I killed the short one. I remembered the taste of his brain after I had smashed his skull against the floor. I leaned to the side and retched, my newly reclaimed consciousness appalled. I could not recall what happened to the other man. Had I killed him? Infected him and left him to roam? And where had all this happened? A large building of some sort, but the details escaped me. Gracie, can you hear me? Where are you? I stopped in the middle of the street and shuffled in a circle looking around. Was the voice inside my head or spoken by someone nearby? I could not tell. I tried to form my lips into an answer, but as usual they refused to mold my utterances into anything intelligible. Gracie? My sister's face suddenly popped into my head. Andrea! A feeling of relief engulfed me. Andrea, I hear you. I'm here. I paused. Wait a minute. Why can I hear you in my head? That's never happened before. My relief drowned in the dread that washed over me. Andrea ignored my question. Oh, Gracie, it's so good to hear your voice. You were so faint at first, I wasn't sure you were really there, talking about the flowers, clouds, and tingling in your extremities, which is a great sign, by the way. Is it? Yes, it means the treatment is working. Treatment? You don't remember? Only bits here and there. Memories are returning in a rush. Is that why I can hear you in my head? Because of the treatment? There was a long pause, and I thought I had lost her. But then she said, No, that's not why. Another pause. It's because I am at the start of the disease, and you are coming out of it. No, you're infected? How? But deep down I already knew. When I opened the barn door to see you, an infected man came out of the back and surprised me. I shouldn't have been so careless. I've been so busy that I wasn't up to date with my vaccinations either. Remember when I used to lecture you about that? Oh, Andrea. I know. Anyway, she said, I'm not sure how long our connection will last. I'm feeling strange. So I need you to listen to me and try to remember what I'm about to tell you. The feeling drained from my fingertips and toes, leaving them numb. My heart was beating erratically, which was a new thing. Usually I couldn't feel it at all. Okay, Andy. You need to get back to the barn as quickly as possible. Go to the refrigerator, remove a vial marked in blue, fill a syringe with 100 cc's, and inject this into your glute. She paused. That's your butt muscle. For the first time in what felt like 100 years, I laughed. It felt amazing, normal in an impossibly abnormal situation. Yeah, I know what a glute is, sis. I sensed her smiling. That should keep you stable for at least 24 hours, maybe longer. I suspect the effects are cumulative. Repeat this every 24 hours as necessary. There are also baggies of brain matter in the refrigerator, about a week's worth. Please don't ask me where I got it. I wasn't going to. I'll need a small portion daily, and you'll likely need even less. If you can't stomach it, you might try mixing it with soup. There's some in the house. Oh, God, I murmured. Next, get my notebook. It's under Dad's tool belt on the workbench. It contains a large envelope that contains a printout of all my notes. I already put postage on it and addressed it to Dr. Marco Silver. There's still a mailbox on the corner that's easy to get to. He's a good man. He'll know what to do. It suddenly returned to me as clear as water. My sister was a doctor, a pathologist. Of the two of us, I was the creative. She was the brain. Why don't I go to the address and give it to him in person? Or go to the lab where you work? I think I remember how to get there. Or we could leave together before you get too sick and go to the encampments or the Resling Sanatorium. It's not that far. Then we could receive care together. Unfortunately, there are still many who would kill us on sight. The sanatoriums, though people had the best intentions when they reopened them, are a nightmare. Filthy, short-staffed, and unmonitored. And the encampments are even worse. They force the infected to wear mouth shields and feed them synthetic brain matter, which slowly leads to their true death. She paused. Also, I didn't want them to take you, so I've been stealing from the lab to treat you secretly, so there's that. Well, I'll give you an injection, too. Then we can find your friend together. You can't. The formula is specific for your progression and would likely kill me. Mail my notes to Dr. Silver, and he'll know what to do. Hopefully it won't take more than a couple of days. She stopped. I'm so scared. Does it hurt? The transition? No, I lied. I feel so strange. Andrea paused. I'm so sorry. I really tried to, hoping to save all. It's working, I think. Crashing. I'm on fire. It's so cold. How can that be? Silence, then. Love you, Gracie. Love you too, Andy. After I mail the packet, I'll be right next to you until he arrives. I won't leave you. Ever. Andrea's voice sped up in my head, her disjointed words eventually melding into a single, unintelligible moan. Then the moaning abruptly stopped. That was worse. Andy? You there? No answer. I kept my head down as I searched for anything familiar in my surroundings. I hoped no one passed by and recognized what I was, for even though the warmth was returning to my limbs and my mind was settling more and more, I was sure I still looked like a monster. I pressed a hand to the gore that had stiffened the front of my t-shirt. I still felt like a monster, too. Andrea had gone completely silent in my head. I tried to reconnect with zero success. I wanted to think about something other than what that meant. As I walked, my surroundings became familiar. The pink mailbox of a neighbor, a crooked tree bristling with blood-red apples, and an ancient windmill in a field. I stopped at the foot of a dirt drive leading to a large white house, the paint peeling, patches of shingles missing from the roof. I swallowed the lump that had risen in my throat. Home! I shuffled through the front yard and stumbled back in disgust at the reflection in the kitchen window, whirling around to see what was behind me. But there was nothing behind me. There had been only one figure in the reflection, mine. I slowly turned back, lowering my hood, my scar-encrusted eyelids blinking slowly at the horrific thing in the reflection. A gray, emaciated creature peered back at me with rheumy eyes. Only a few sprouts of hair remained on top of my head. A long scar ran down the right side of my face, starting at my temple and ending at my chin. I bared my teeth, marveling at the chipped, stained surfaces. No wonder Andrea had wanted me to lie low. I tore my gaze from the window and went to the back of the house. The barn door was partway open. Pete lay on the floor where I had left him, head caved in, not enough left of his brain to rise. Hunched over his corpse was Zach, lapping the brain matter off of Pete's cheek. My heart, its irregular beat evened out to a rapid cadence, nearly stopped when Zach looked up at me and hissed. Then he cocked his head at me in confusion. I immediately understood that I was neither food nor a threat. I was not human, but I was also no longer like him. Not exactly. "You killed me," he said in my head. "You're not dead. Plus, you tried to sell me. Of all the fucked up things." I paused. "There's hope for us now, though. The latest treatment is working," I said, because despite what he had done, I still wanted to help him. "I'm proof of it." But Zach heard none of it. "I'm gonna kill you," he said. He rushed toward me, and I reacted, grabbing the pitchfork next to the door and finishing him with a single jab through his face and into his brain. I stumbled back in shock and horror at what I had just done. He fell to the floor in a heap. I dropped the pitchfork and rushed to the back of the barn where I found my sister. She had locked herself into a stall, converted into a cage. She snarled at me, the half-moon impressions of Zach's teeth prominent on the delicate curve of her neck. I moaned at her wild, shrunken state, her rate of deterioration alarming. At that moment, I was glad I had killed Zach. My sister charged toward the bars as I approached, snarling and snapping. "Be right back." I thought at her, but got no response. I opened the refrigerator, retrieved a vial, filled a syringe, and injected myself. I opened her notebook and found the envelope she had told me about, and left the barn. A few minutes later, I returned and filled the doggy dish with the rancid goo from the refrigerator, gagging as I carried it back to her cage, where I shoved it beneath the bars. I would not eat tonight. I turned away as my once graceful sister dropped to all fours and devoured it like an animal. Then I settled on the barn floor near her enclosure to wait. Days passed. The disease tried to pull me back into the familiar murk of before, but my mind successfully resisted. I was no longer its prisoner. In Andrea's wild, unfocused gaze, I saw what I had been, and it was terrifying. I tried to reconnect with her, telling her stories of our family, singing her favorite songs and reciting poetry to her in my head, but no response. Every day that passed, I injected the medication. Part of me considered not using the treatment at all, allowing myself to slip back into the diseased state, because at least then I could talk with my sister, to be with her in that horrific space where I knew she currently existed. The number of vials in the refrigerator decreased until they were gone, and we used up all the packets of gray goo. I lost track of the days. I felt my mind slipping, and while part of me longed to connect with Andrea, I refused to slide into oblivion. Whatever the medication was, it appeared to keep me afloat, at least for now. Finally, on a day I know only as today, the barn door opened, and a man cautiously poked his head inside. He entered carrying a black leather bag, coming to a dead stop when he saw the bodies on the floor. He retrieved a handkerchief from his pocket and covered his nose and mouth. With his free hand, he pulled a small handgun from his jacket and stepped deeper into the barn. Behind me, Andrea lunged against the bars of the cage weakly and growled. The man spotted her and exclaimed, "Oh, God! Andrea! No!" He did not notice me sitting in the corner with her notebook in my lap until he got closer, and then he jumped back in surprise. Even if I had wanted to harm him, which thankfully I did not, I was too weak to rise. As I shifted my position, the shackle I had reattached to my ankle as a safeguard clanked against the floorboards. I dropped the notebook on the floor between us and croaked 2 words from my shrunken larynx. "Help us." Dr. Silver looked from me to Andy and then to the notebook in front of him, his shifting expressions of horror, disgust, and amazement almost comical. His gaze swept across the empty vials scattered on the floor, the human waste, the filthy water trough, and the discarded plastic bags before returning to me. "I will," he said hoarsely. "I'm going to get Andrea's laptop from the house. Be right back." He started for the door but stopped and turned back. "You're a miracle," he said before he left the barn. I felt a distant pang of irrational yet familiar fury at his words, and my mouth watered at his retreating scent. A wave of dizziness passed over me, and pinpricks of light littered my vision. Next to me, Andrea started to moan and bang her head against the bars of the cage. "Hurry," I whispered, hoping he would return. "He will," Andrea answered clearly in my head for the first time in days. I hoped she was right.
That was Hall Jameson's Surfacing, as read by Barbara Henslee. Barbara Henslee is a native Texan whose voice is described as soft, warm, and folksy. She is passionate about helping people who are challenged in reading the printed word enjoy literature. Barbara is also an indie author with published short stories and novellas. She has also published many inspirational articles for online publications. Thank you, Barbara.
Well, children of the night, the hour is late and we've run out of tales to tell. For now. Tales to Terrify is made possible by the tremendous generosity of our supporters on Patreon and PayPal. Incredible fans like Lestle Baxter, Amanda Carrillo, Amanda Gottfried, and Orion D. Hegre, whose generous support keeps these lights on and flickering ominously. If you're not a supporter, head over to patreon.com/Tales to Terrify. You'll find all kinds of perks, like ad-free episodes, bonus content, and one-of-a-kind collectibles. Every dollar goes back into this show and we appreciate your support so much. Want another way to support the show that doesn't cost you a cent? Head over to Podchaser, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and drop us a 5-star review. You'll not only put an unnaturally wide smile on our faces, but help new listeners discover our terrifying tales too. You can show your love of the show out in the world with some Tales to Terrify merch. TalesToTerrify.com/merch will take you to our TeePublic store, where we've got a great collection of creepy custom and curated designs. Tales to Terrify is produced by Seth Williams, Meredith Morgenstern, Andrew Gibson, Crystal Hammond, Spencer Disparty, and myself, Drew Sebastini, with original theme by Nebulous Entertainment. Tales to Terrify is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Join us again next week as we descend into the ancient vaults for more Tales to Terrify.